This summer, I was invited to go on this spontaneous road trip. I felt like it was this last-ditch effort to have fun until school started again, and I thought about it and said yes. So I hurried back home and packed for a 3-day trip. Apparently, they're planned on going to Oregon to climb, camp, and to hike. But I forgot to bring something really important. I forgot to bring a blanket. Out of all of the things to forget, why a blanket? I guess you'll see why later, but there's this one moment during the trip that didn't sit right with me, and that was when Andrew asked, "So, what's your type? Like, what kind of person do you want to be with?" I had trouble answering. Romance was the type of thing that I've been putting on the back burner for some time now, and in all honesty, I was scared. I was scared to love, and I was scared to be vulnerable again, to the point where I couldn't imagine myself with somebody. My mind abruptly took me back to the time when I first started journaling, and I was trying to answer the question, who am I no longer willing to be? It was a little question at first, but I responded with, I am no longer willing to live my life in comparison to my dad. I felt like I was following his shadow just to repeat the same mistakes he once made. I spent my entire life trying to be better than him, and in pursuit of that, I actually became a mirror image of him. I thought that I was doing something better. I thought speedrunning life's milestones would make me happier. I couldn't have been more wrong. I get this privilege to take on risks, and most of all, I get the space to sit with myself and meditate on the issues that matter to me and do something about it. I thought that I was the type of person to play life safe, but now I see that there's nothing to be gained from that. I think this trip encapsulated that for me. Life can be so mysterious sometimes. Going with the flow and allowing life to take its course was a philosophy that I used to live by. Come to find out, it was an incomplete thought, and a deceptively destructive one too, that is. I had intrusive thoughts like, what if I turn out to be get what my potential to be? What if I never find my purpose? What if all of this was actually a deep-rooted fear in disguise? The fear of taking control, the fear of failing, and the fear of not realizing my potential. It affected my confidence to speak up. I externalized many of my problems, making it seem like I have no influence over the situation. God, my imagination can play these tricks on me, thinking that I've lived lives that never happened. But all of this doesn't surmount to the biggest lie I've told myself. But first, I gotta tell you about the best road trip of the summer. During this trip, we ate way more McDonald's than we expected to. I explored Oregon's natural bridges and flip-flops and encountered a sketchy divergent path that ultimately led to us being on the natural bridges. We then stopped by this beach for a bit and found some interesting plants that were washed up on shore. And soon later, reenacted this World War II painting with this driftwood that we found. And after our little beach escapade, we went to explore Crater Lake. A funny little story about Crater Lake. While we were trying to find the trailhead for Garfield Peak Trail, Reese came across this baddie who was working as a tour guide, but he was too scared to approach. Well, anyways, after we came back from the hike, we went to check in for our campsite at Diamond Lake. And my God, was it a sight to behold. And before it got too late, we sat around and enjoyed the scenery. And funny enough, this was the calm before the storm. This was our tent. Apparently the poles were broken, and this is what we were able to muster up. With just 2 crash pads on the floor and a few sleeping bags, a huge blanket would have been very nice. And in the middle of the night, Reese had a bear scare, which woke me up. It was a false alarm, but anyways, Reese complained about my snoring. In the end, we all didn't get good sleep, besides Andrew, of course. In the morning, we had some magnificent pancakes and started out the day strong. We got to see the morning dew dissipate with the sunrise, and Reese got some sick pictures of Jason while he was kayaking. After Jason got back, we started to drive to the spot called Terra. Turns out this would be an absolute nightmare. While we were trying to search for the spot, we parked at the sketchy area to just find some abandoned car parts, shot up trailer parts, and trees. And more trees. It was a while till we turned back, by the way. We turned back far enough to load the map, but we still got lost. Again. This time around we drove further in, but still, no luck. Instead, we found some weird notes and abandoned window frames. I'm not sure where or how. Yeah, I'm not sure how that happened. I'm not a forensic investigator, but I could say that that's very odd. So, we got really creeped out, but we had a very good feeling about this time. You know what they say, right? Third time's a charm? It'll be different this time around, right? Andrew had a good feeling because we saw this stone balancing sculpture at the beginning of a trail. And he'd be right. After such a long and tedious approach, we made it. This was it. The big lie. It was kind of fitting, don't you think? This was by far the highest I've ever climbed, and also the most scared I've ever been. This was my first lead climb too, which makes it the craziest thing I've ever done. Given that Reese and Andrew were the first to go up, they couldn't make it to the top. They got tired and said, the worst case scenario is that we leave a clip up there for the next person. I was in full disdain and asked if I could climb the rest. I got a mini crash course on how to clip in to the wall and was reminded how to not back clip. I went up. It was beautiful. While I was scared out of my mind, my body was shaking uncontrollably. I cramped up while I was trying to clip in. I suppose it was a fight between my mind and my body. I just kept reminding myself that I could do this, and that the next step wasn't too far away. I continued to climb, and it became increasingly more difficult to communicate, but the higher I went, the safer I felt. It wasn't until I reached the top that I noticed that my legs were violently shaking. It was exhilarating, climbing this 100-foot slither of a rock on the side of a mountain after golden hour was by far the highlight of the summer.
I did it! Dude, let's go! Woo! Let's go!
No, I didn't expect this trip to be so healing, but as I continue to look back on it, I think it was pivotal to my mentality. After Reese's and Andrew's attempt, no one thought that we could make it up there. I thought otherwise, and while my thoughts were being tested, I too was on the edge of giving up. But I gave myself space to fail, and in reminding myself that, I was reminded of the biggest lie I told myself, and it was that I was unworthy of love. I didn't expect to have a roller coaster of emotions while I was climbing. On the contrary, I typically have no thoughts. Just feeling my body move is enough. But this time was different. Somehow, having my mind and my body being scared at the same time makes me realize how much I love people and how grateful I am to have these people in my life. I love you guys. Take care now. Dude, we're chasing out a skunk. This is why we're late. Traffic,
Yeah.
traffic.
Now you have something to tell your mom.
Yeah, traffic, bro.
Go left.
Go.
Once. No. Turn left once. Please.